our genes, the chemical instructions for building our bodies and keeping us alive, all wrapped up in a tiny, winding staircase. DNA has run the show for more than 4 billion years for one main reason. It's very good at making copies of itself. The copies can get passed to a new generation in a couple of ways. If you're a bacteria, you might be into
Joe, what classes do you have to switch
replicas
to
yourself.
nursing?
All your descendants have the same DNA, except for occasional mutants are just like you. It's simple. It works. And genetically, it's extremely boring. It can also be dangerous. If humans were all clones, everyone would have the exact same instincts, and one successful parasite could wipe us all out. Fortunately, there's sex. The method of choice for 99.9% of the organisms on Earth, more complex than bacteria. With sexual reproduction, 2 individuals each provide some DNA. Most animals put it into sperm or eggs.
Sperm or
If the
eggs?
2
What
can
the
get
fuck is
together, a
down
new being will be created.
I said sperm or
One that's
eggs.
different from its parents and everybody else. Where there's sex, there's variety. And when it comes to survival of the fittest, variety has a definite advantage. All this comes at a price. Sexual reproduction may be popular, but it's also quite tricky. To get an idea of how tricky, just take a peek inside a man's testicle. It's packed with tiny tubes coiled into bundles. Stretched out, they could cover half a mile. Inside all this tubing, the average man is churning out 1,000 new sperm every second. That's about 100 million new sperm every day, and more than 2 trillion over a lifetime. And here's the tricky part. Each and every sperm is one of a kind, carrying a unique genetic package. How is this possible? How could one person produce so many different combinations of genes? The answer lies in the very special way we make sperm and eggs, a process called meiosis. In almost every cell of your body, you have 30,000 or more different genes, spread out on very long strands of DNA called chromosomes. Most cells have 2 versions of every gene on a total of 46 chromosomes.
I go on the internet while you're doing that or no?
Well, that, your face is going to be all over YouTube. I'm downloading off of my whole new YouTube.
Miss Kate Vegas and her husband Sergio are expecting their first baby. Their unborn child carries a mixture of genes, not just from them, but from all their ancestors. You look so much like your mother here. But which genes got passed on from whom? Right now is anybody's guess. Here you are. And this is what our little girl might look like. I wonder if the baby will have
Every so often, just check back on YouTube, make sure your video's
my
still
father's
on.
side of the family.
Because I might have to
We call them the
go run
Vegas
up to
eyebrows.
15 minutes and a half, right? But every so often, just check back on YouTube, make sure there's a video.
Alright, it's only at 6 minutes now.
Yeah.
We talked about having children a lot. 5, 6. And I was like, well, let's start with 1, 2, maybe 3.
In their efforts to pass on their genes, Melinda and Sergio pursued dramatically different strategies. Like most men, Sergio has been constantly producing sperm since puberty. But Melinda created all her eggs when she looked like this, a fetus in her mother's womb. Within a couple of months, she created several million eggs. And then, the eggs began to die. At the age of 31, Melinda may only have a few thousand left. But that's okay, because inside an ovary, as opposed to a testicle, it's quality, not quantity, that counts. Every month, one of a woman's 2 ovaries selects an immature egg cell to lavish with attention. Hundreds of support cells tend the egg, feeding it till it grows fat. When it's ready, the whole entourage, the egg along with its helpers, oozes out of the ovary. Waiting for them is the open end of the fallopian tube, which leads to the uterus. Its tentacles capture the egg and pull it inside. The egg is swept along by muscular contractions of the tube, as well as the constant swaying of tiny cilia. The egg has everything it needs to start a new life, except for one thing: DNA from a sperm. And it has to get it fast. If the egg is not fertilized within a few hours, it will die. Sex, there will always be pressure to meet and impress. When it comes to actually choosing a partner, there's a lot to consider. For us, it might be somewhat more complicated than picking the one that smells best. But there's no doubt that the process can be heavily influenced by chemistry, natural drugs that flood the brain. When love is in the air, the body can undergo some dramatic changes. Signals from the brain speed up the metabolism of glucose. As a It's only about a teaspoon of liquid, but it typically contains about 300 million sperm. They are immediately in peril. The vagina is acidic, so the sperm must escape or die. They start to swim, at least some. Even in a healthy man, 60% of the sperm can be less than perfect. Like this one with 2 tails. For these guys, the journey is over. But what about the rest? What are the chances that one tiny sperm will reach and fertilize an egg? Sperm are often portrayed as brave little warriors forging their way through hostile terrain to conquer the egg. Nothing could be further from the truth. For every challenge the sperm face, success is to a great extent controlled by the woman's body and even the egg itself. Take the sperm's first obstacle, the cervix, passageway to the uterus. Most of the time, it's locked shut, plugged with mucus that keeps bacteria and sperm out. But for just a few days a month, around ovulation, the mucus becomes watery and forms tiny channels that guide the sperm through. Arriving inside the uterus, the sperm are still about 6 inches away from their goal, at least a 2-day swim. But undulations in the uterine muscles propel the sperm into the fallopian tube in 30 minutes. Even a sperm that reaches the tube in record time has no guarantee of fertilizing an egg. There may be no egg there. Ovulation could still be days away.
14.
It's the sleuth folks, caught up in the cilia lining the tube, who may have a